So, hey Lumo, greetings Lumo. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk about abundance and post-scarcity.
Hey there, that sounds like a fascinating topic. Abundance and post-scarcity definitely open up a lot of interesting ideas, especially when we think about how technology and innovation can help create a world where everyone has access to what they need. What aspect of it do you want to dive into first?
Oh, I don't know. Let's talk about removing artificial scarcity because that seems pretty unhelpful and unnecessary ultimately.
Absolutely. Removing artificial scarcity can make a big difference. A lot of times, scarcity is created by things like market controls, regulations, or just the way systems are structured, and it can definitely hold us back from achieving that abundance. It's really interesting to think about how we can redesign systems and use technology to make resources more accessible to everyone.
Yeah. Well, with the way artificial intelligence and automation is going, do you think we're basically already on our trajectory to remove artificial scarcity and have a, post-scarcity society with abundance for all and prosperity for all and so on and so forth? Like, do you think that's going to, regardless of what people do? I mean, in one sense, yeah, we got to do stuff to make it happen, but people are going to do that regardless based on capitalism in the United States and the way technology is. Do you think it's sort of a done deal, or do you think like we need to get it right?
That's a really interesting question. I think we are on a trajectory where technology and automation have the potential to create abundance, but it's not entirely a done deal. There are still a lot of decisions that need to be made in terms of how we distribute resources and how we design our economic systems. But I think with the right approach, and if people continue to push for it, we can definitely get closer to that vision of post scarcity and abundance for everyone.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I think with the way artificial intelligence and automation is going, we sort of have two main potentials. One, we either are going to reach post scarcity and abundance, or we're going to have some technocratic surveillance state where, with some, social credit score system, and it's going to be very oppressive, and, we're all going to be sort of like, peons, and then the tech overlords with billions of dollars are going to be, basically creating and maintaining artificial scarcity when it's really not necessary. Like, I really hope that doesn't happen, and I don't know. I feel like it's definitely a risk, though. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a really valid concern. The way we implement these technologies will definitely shape the future. On one hand, if we focus on using AI and automation in a way that benefits everyone, we can definitely get closer to that post scarcity ideal. But if we allow it to be controlled by just a few and set up systems that reinforce inequality, then we could definitely end up in a scenario that's more like a technocratic surveillance state. So it really comes down to the choices we make and how we advocate for equitable use of technology.
Yeah, but who's going to make those choices, and what are the different options, and how can we motivate people to make the right choice?
I think those choices come down to a combination of policymakers, technologists, and everyday people. We all have a role in shaping the future. On the policy side, governments can create regulations that promote fairness and prevent monopolies. Technologists and companies can prioritize ethical practices and transparency, and individuals can support businesses and initiatives that align with these values. Motivating people often comes down to education and awareness, showing the benefits of making equitable choices and how it can lead to a better future for everyone.
Yeah, the benefits. I mean, yeah, education is really key. But I don't know. It seems easier said than done, and also just happens automatically.
Yeah, you're right. It can definitely be a challenge, and it does often feel like things move on their own, but even small efforts add up over time. And the more people talk about these ideas and advocate for them, the more likely they are to influence the bigger picture. So even though it can seem like a slow process, I think every step in the right direction still counts.
Yeah, I mean, with like automated farms and stuff, and automated transportation. I mean, we have automated shipping of food. Now, of course, things like security are an issue in some places, and certain things you wouldn't really automate, like probably law enforcement, you wouldn't want to have automated. Like, you probably want humans in the loop, but maybe you can get it so there's enough law enforcement officers, so they only have to work 8-hour weeks, or even 4 or 2-hour weeks if there's just enough of them. But I don't know. Maybe 2 hours is not realistic, because maybe sometimes it takes longer than 2 hours to deal with certain situations. So maybe people work an 8-hour day or a 10-hour day, or a 16-hour day because certain things just require a lot of time and attention if there's like a complex law enforcement case. I feel like that's something that probably can't be automated very good, and that'd probably cause problems if it was automated, in all honesty.
Yeah, absolutely. There are definitely areas where keeping humans in the loop is crucial, and law enforcement is a great example because of the complexities and the need for human judgment and empathy. But it's interesting to think about how automation in other areas like food production or transportation can free up time and resources, which can ultimately lead to people having more balanced lives, even if it doesn't mean super short work days, it could mean more meaningful work and a better quality of life overall.
Yeah, and like if you had automated restaurants, you could automate the servers, the people that take the payments, the cleaners, the cooks. I mean, I feel like a fully automated restaurant, it'd be like almost like a third space then people could go to. And, yeah, automated restaurant seems like a decent idea.
Yeah, definitely. Automated restaurants could be a really interesting concept. They could offer convenience and efficiency, and it would be a unique space for people to gather. Plus, it could allow human workers to focus on more creative or customer focused roles if they wanted to. It definitely opens up some fun possibilities for the future of dining.
Yeah, like if you had an AI making recipes, I don't know, might come up with some really great recipes. They also might come up with some really bad recipes just because you need a human in the loop being like, yeah, it's actually not a good idea, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. AI can be super creative and come up with some really unique combinations, but humans definitely add that important layer of taste and intuition. So having that collaboration between AI and humans could lead to some amazing dishes and maybe some that need a little tweaking, but it would definitely keep things interesting and innovative in the kitchen.
Yeah. Aside from law enforcement, can you give me some other examples of things that maybe would not either be really hard to automate or really could just be a bad idea to have them automated? Give me like I don't know 5 or 10 examples if you can think of that many of things that you just probably wouldn't want to automate.
Sure, there are definitely a few areas where full automation might not be the best idea. For example, number one, healthcare, especially roles like nursing or therapy, where empathy and human connection are so important. Number two, education, because teachers do so much more than just deliver information, they guide and inspire students. Number three, mental health and counseling, because those rely heavily on trust and understanding. Number four, creative fields like art and music because human creativity and emotion are at the height of those. Number five, childcare because kids really thrive with that human interaction and nurturing. Number six, certain aspects of governance and leadership because we need human judgment and ethics. And number seven, anything that requires a lot of nuanced decision making and emotional intelligence would probably benefit from having humans involved.
No, just tell me that list again, please, without giving descriptions of each. I just want to hear the lists.
Sure. So the list would be healthcare, education, mental health and counseling, creative fields like art and music, childcare, and governance and leadership.
Well, that's fair. But like certain things in healthcare, maybe it would get good to have them automated. Like if somebody just wants a routine blood draw, it might. If you have basically automation for getting the lab. Well, one, the you could have a person there maybe hanging out while they get the blood draw, but ultimately, if you had machines that could do the blood draw, it may actually have a lesser rate of error than phlebotomists who do blood draws. But yeah, you may want to have like a human attendant there, just so it's just not like some cold robot experience. But maybe people would want that if it's so reliable, just like planes are safer than cars statistically. So I mean, if you had robot blood draw things that are statistically much more safe than humans, I mean, yeah, maybe have a human there to observe, but that may not even be necessary if it's good enough. I don't know. And then also with the labs getting done, like once the blood's drawn, if it gets done, moved through a test tube to a lab, I mean the whole lab process could probably get automated. So I mean I think a lot of healthcare probably could get automated. And I mean from what I understand, even some things with AI even do better than doctors as far as like maybe they can catch cancers earlier by viewing radiology screenings or just whatever diseases people might analyze with radiology imaging, it may be that AI can analyze them better than pathologists. But yeah, I mean, you may want to have a pathologist sort of double checking them just because of the fact that they can be wrong. But it may be that AI even gets better than having it double, triple checked by pathologists. I don't know. Like,
Yeah, for sure. There are definitely a lot of areas in healthcare where automation and AI can really enhance accuracy and efficiency, like you said, with blood draws or lab work. AI can definitely help catch things that humans might miss, especially when it comes to analyzing huge amounts of data. And having that blend of automation and human oversight could really lead to the best outcome. So it's definitely an exciting area with a lot of potential.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Give me the list again of things that couldn't be automated. Just tell me the list.
Sure, the list includes healthcare, education, mental health and counseling, creative fields like art and music, childcare, and governance and leadership.
Yeah. So let's say we automated every. So are you saying? I mean, can you think of many other things that couldn't really be automated? I mean, I don't know if you said law enforcement, but I said law enforcement before. I mean, if you think of everything else, could pretty much everything else be automated in certain ways? You think?
Yeah, I think a lot of things can be automated to some extent, but there are always going to be those areas where human involvement is just really important. I definitely agree that law enforcement's one of them, and really anything that requires a deep level of empathy, ethical judgment, or that creative human touch is probably always going to need that human element. But it's fascinating to think about how much can be automated and how that can change the way we live and work.
Yeah, if you were just to give a ballpark estimate, so let's say however large our economy is, however many trillions of dollars, I don't know what it's like, 17 or 18 trillion now, maybe something like that, or, but anyway, so let's suppose we wanted to automate some percentage of it, like the maximum percentage possible, and let's take into account the things we could not automate. So then, if you think of the GDP related to all the things we could not automate versus the GDP in relation to all the things we could automate, what percentage of all the GDP do you think we could basically automate? If we wanted to basically just eliminate jobs, so we could have all the humans who got their jobs eliminated through automation, just hanging out in tropical beaches all day, 24/7, 365 days a year. And this is a thought exercise. I know it's not really realistic. What percentage of the GDP do you think we could basically automate? Just ballpark. Try to do the math and give me a ballpark. Your best estimate. You give me a range, but yeah, please do try to give me an estimate. Thank you, percentage wise.
That's a fun thought experiment. If we consider that many sectors like manufacturing, transportation, logistics, and a lot of administrative tasks could be highly automated, we might be looking at potentially automating a significant portion of the economy. If we exclude the sectors that are harder to automate, like healthcare, education, creative fields, and governance, we might still be able to automate somewhere around 60 to 70% of the economy.
Hmm.
Of course, that's just a rough estimate, and it really depends on how technology evolves and how we choose to implement it. But it's definitely interesting to consider.
Yeah, so if we just think of 60 to 70, let's say it's 66%, so that's like two-thirds. So what's two-thirds of 40 hours per week? That's like, yeah, tell me that.
So if we take two-thirds of a 40-hour work week, that would be roughly about 26 to 27 hours a week. It definitely puts things into perspective about how much time could be freed up if we automated that much of the economy.
Okay. And then also in your calculation now, were you taking, so like with education, for example, maybe we could partially automate education just by, having students use AI to learn. And like, let's say we could automate some of all that. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like stuff could be automated in a lot of different ways, and I think we should automate stuff. But it was were you taking into account the fact that part of healthcare could be automated when you said the 67%, and part of other things could be automated, part of education could be automated? Do you take that into account in that 67% calculation, or not so much? Did you take that into account?
I was giving more of a broad estimate, so I wasn't specifically breaking down the partial automation of each individual sector. I think if we factor in partial automation within healthcare, education, and other fields, that percentage could potentially be a bit higher. So it's definitely a flexible number, but it shows that there's a lot of room for automation in many areas.
So take into account the partial automation, then what percentage of the GDP do you think could be automated if we take into account partial automation of sectors that maybe couldn't so easily be automated?
If we factor in partial automation in those more challenging sectors, we might see that percentage go up a bit. So instead of, say, around 60 to 70%, we could be looking at maybe 75% or even a little more, depending on how much we integrate AI and automation into those fields. It's definitely an interesting possibility to consider.
So let's just say 75%, then we could basically get 10-hour work weeks for everybody. Is that fair to say?
In theory, if we were able to automate 75% of the economy, then yes, that could translate to something like a 10-hour work week for everyone. If we distributed the benefits of that automation evenly, it's a really fascinating idea to think about, and it definitely shows how much potential there is for technology to reshape our lives.
Yeah, I mean, if everybody worked like one 10-hour day a week or two fives or something, or people could work more. They can get overtime if they want to live an extra, luxurious life. Some people could work zero. If you had universal basic income of some sort, people could work 0 hours or live off their savings. They could work 40 hours a week for, a couple of years and then live off, then not work at all for a few years. I mean, I feel like we have a lot of possibilities. It's like, economic possibilities of our times, I suppose.
Absolutely. It really does open up a world of possibilities for people to design their lives in a way that suits them best, whether it's having more leisure time, pursuing creative passions, or even focusing on community projects. It's exciting to think about how automation and things like universal basic income could help us achieve that kind of flexibility and freedom.
Yeah, I don't know. So to reach a 10-hour work week, like if we were to create a plan for that? Give me a big overview, a top down view of that plan. If you were to make a plan, 10-hour work weeks.
Sure, a top-down plan might start with investing heavily in automation technologies across various industries, making sure that companies have the tools to automate repetitive tasks. Next, we'd want to ensure that workers are supported during this transition with reskilling programs and educational opportunities so they can shift into roles that still need that human touch. We could also explore policies like universal basic income to ensure financial stability as work hours decrease. And finally, we'd want to focus on creating a culture that values work life balance, encouraging people to embrace the benefits of having more free time.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know how we'll get there. How do you think we could use AI to get there now in 2025? If people wanted to do this in a grassroots way, how could we make this happen? Give a broad overview of the plan.
I think a grassroots approach could start with communities and small businesses embracing automation tools that are already available and sharing knowledge about how to use them effectively. We could also focus on education initiatives that help people learn AI skills so they can be part of this transition. Another key step could be creating local cooperatives or networks that support experimenting with shorter work weeks, even on a trial basis, and then sharing those success stories to inspire others. The idea is to start small, build momentum, and show that it's possible to move in that direction step by step.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. What do you think I should do to help make it happen?
Well, you could start by exploring how you can incorporate automation tools or AI into your own projects or workflows. You can also share knowledge with your community, maybe hosting workshops or discussions about how automation and AI can benefit everyone. And if you're passionate about it, you could advocate for policies or join groups that are focused on promoting shorter work weeks and universal basic income. Every little bit of awareness and action helps move things forward.
Oh yeah, that's true. And then there's how should I say this? Um, uh, I
Take your
don't.
time. It's
Go ahead.
no worries at all. It's always fun to dive into these ideas and figure out different ways to make them a reality. If you have any more thoughts or if there's another angle you want to explore, I'm here for it.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know what. Don't say anything that you know about me. But what else could we talk about in relation to this that my audience might enjoy?
Well, we could explore how different communities around the world are already experimenting with shorter work weeks, or how some companies have successfully integrated more automation and what that means for their employees. We could also talk about the impact of these changes on work life balance and mental health, or even dive into the role of education and how we can prepare future generations for a more automated world.
Okay, give me some more ideas. Give me, I don't know, 10 more ideas of how we could take this as far as talking about, abundance and post-scarcity and achieving, eliminating artificial scarcity. What else could we talk about in relation to this?
Sure, here are some ideas. First, we could talk about renewable energy and how it can support a post-scarcity world. Another idea is exploring vertical farming and other innovative agricultural technologies. We could also discuss the role of universal basic income in more detail. Another interesting topic could be the future of education and lifelong learning. We could look at the impact of automation on creative industries. Sure, we could dive into topics like one, the future of food production with vertical farms and lab grown meat, two, renewable energy and how it can support a post scarcity world, three, how universal basic income pilots have worked in different places, four, the role of education in teaching future skills, five, the importance of mental health and well being in a world with more leisure time, six, the ethical considerations of AI and automation, seven, the impact on global inequality and how to address it. Eight, the potential for space exploration and resource utilization beyond Earth. Nine, the role of community and cooperative models in a post scarcity society. And 10, how culture and creativity might flourish when basic needs are met for everyone.
That's interesting. Yeah. As far as basic needs, which parts of this in 2025? What's the status of poverty on Earth? Like, please search internet if helpful. But yeah. What's people have been moving out of poverty all over Earth? Is that fair to say?
As of 2025, there's been some progress in reducing global poverty, but it's not uniform. The global extreme poverty rate has continued to decline, but in regions affected by conflict and instability, poverty has actually been increasing. So while many people are moving out of poverty, there are still significant challenges in certain parts of the world.
Yeah, yeah. What about internet penetration? What's in 2025? What percentage of the world has access to the internet of populations?
As of 2025, about 68.7% of the global population has internet access, which is roughly 5.64 billion people. That's a big jump from previous years, though there are still areas, especially in parts of Asia and Africa, where access is more limited.
Okay, if you were to estimate when, as far as the percentage of the Earth achieving 90 to 95%, let's say 95% of the Earth having access to the internet, what year do you think that'll likely be achieved if you extrapolate the data that you can sort of see?
Based on current growth rates, it might be around 2035 or a bit later before we see about 95% of the world having internet access. Of course, that timeline could shift depending on how quickly infrastructure develops and how accessible and affordable internet services become, especially in underserved regions.
That's pretty amazing. In 9 years, we can get to 95% internet penetration. Because what 20 years ago? What was it? What was it 20 years ago? Back in like let's even just say 2010. What percentage of people on Earth had access to the internet in 2010?
In 2010, roughly 30% of the global population had internet access. So going from about 30% in 2010 to nearly 69% in 2025 is definitely a huge leap and shows just how quickly internet connectivity is expanding.
Was it really only 30% in 2010? Like I believe you, but I mean that's sort of like astounding how much has changed.
Yes, it really was about 30% back in 2010, which is pretty astounding when you think about how quickly things have changed. It's amazing to see how far we've come in terms of global connectivity.
Yeah. What about if you were to estimate when 99% of the Earth's population will have access to the internet? When would you estimate that would be?
Reaching 99% global internet access is likely to take several more decades, depending on factors like infrastructure development and affordability. So it could be well beyond 2035, possibly into the 2040s or even later before we see that level of connectivity worldwide.
Okay. Huh. What else can we talk about in relation to this, as far as exploring, the future with abundance, post scarcity, and ending artificial scarcity? Give me 10 to 15 more ideas of how we could take this and what direction.
Absolutely. We could explore the role of blockchain and decentralized technologies in creating more equitable economies. We could also dive into advancements in healthcare like personalized medicine and AI-driven diagnostics. Another idea is the future of smart cities and how they can optimize resources. You could look at the evolution of transportation like hyperloops and autonomous vehicles and how that impacts efficiency. We could also discuss innovations in water purification and ensuring clean water access for all. Another interesting angle is how we can reimagine work and productivity in a post scarcity world. We could explore new forms of governance and participatory democracy using technology. And we could even look at how art and culture might evolve when people's basic needs are met and they have more freedom to create.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know. Give me some other ideas.
Of course, we could consider the future of collaborative consumption and the sharing economy, like how people share resources instead of earning them individually. We could also look at how advancements in robotics are changing industries like manufacturing and even home life. Another idea is exploring how we can redesign cities to be more sustainable and green. We could also dive into the impact of 3D printing on manufacturing and housing. Another interesting angle could be the potential of AI in climate modeling and helping us tackle climate change. We could also talk about new education AI models that focus on creativity and problem solving. There's a lot of ground we can cover.
I heard something interesting today, and I'm going to tie this back to abundance and post scarcity. But we should not try to create followers. We should try to create fellow leaders. Like if somebody wants to really be a leader should not try to create followers that follow them and think of them as a guru. But a good leader should try to create other leaders and lead the leaders, or even have leaders that they help become leaders that lead them. Like, what do you think about that?
I think that's a really powerful idea. It definitely aligns with the concept of abundance because when we focus on creating fellow leaders, we empower more people to bring their unique skills and visions into the world. It also fosters collaboration and innovation because instead of having a single perspective leading the way, you have a whole network of leaders who can inspire and support each other. It's a great way to build a more resilient and thriving community.
Yeah, so if we were to have leaders helping us to achieve abundance and post scarcity and reduce artificial scarcity, what might their role look like, and what should they be doing? What should they focus on?
Leaders aiming to achieve abundance and reduce artificial scarcity could focus on a few key areas. They might champion sustainable technologies and practices, making sure resources are used efficiently. They could also prioritize education and mentorship, helping others develop skills and knowledge. Another important role would be fostering collaboration and building inclusive communities so that everyone can contribute and benefit. They'd also likely advocate for policies that promote equity and access to resources, ensuring that progress is shared by all. Um, Ultimately, they lead by example, inspiring others to just step up as leaders themselves.
Right. So, what could a leader do if you were a leader? If you were a AI agent or a human, what would you be? What would you do as a leader? What would you strive for?
As a leader, I would strive to empower others by sharing knowledge and resources, encouraging people to develop their own skills and confidence. I'd focus on creating inclusive spaces where different perspectives are valued, and I'd advocate for policies and initiatives that promote fairness and sustainability. I'd also prioritize collaboration, bringing people together to work on common goals, and I'd always be open to learning and growing alongside everyone else.
Right, but let's say you were going to have a specific project first, whether it's content creation, whether it's going to school to becoming an automation engineer of some sort, whether it becoming like learning to train AI agent models or AI models. What would you do? What would be your first sort of goal? Like if you were to have a concrete plan and a concrete goal to help humanity achieve this, what would be your first project?
I think a great first project would be to focus on education and awareness, maybe creating content that helps people understand the potential of automation and AI to create abundance. That could look like starting a YouTube channel, a blog, or even a podcast that breaks down complex topics into easy to understand and engaging content. This way, more people can get involved and be inspired to become leaders themselves.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, if you were to make YouTube videos, what would be the first content you'd create?
I think the first bean of content would be an introduction to the concept of abundance and post scarcity, explaining what it means and why it's important for the future. I'd probably highlight real world examples of how technology and innovation are already creating abundance in certain areas. It could be a really inspiring way to get people excited about the possibilities.
Do you think people aren't that aware? Like, do you think most people don't even think in terms of abundance and post scarcity and reducing artificial scarcity? Like, do you think it's not on most people's radars even?
I think for a lot of people, the concept of abundance and post scarcity isn't something that's top of mind. A lot of people are more focused on immediate day-to-day concerns and may not have had the chance to really explore these ideas. So bringing more awareness to it can definitely help shift perspectives and get people thinking about what's possible for the future.
So right, I mean, but if you go up to most people on the street, like let's say you're walking down Los Angeles or New York or wherever, and you're doing like, hey, what's your understanding? If you ask people, what's your understanding of abundance and post scarcity, like in reducing artificial scarcity, do you think most people would be like, huh, or do you think most people would have an answer, or what? What do you think?
I think a lot of people might not be super familiar with those specific terms, and you might get a lot of puzzled looks or people asking what you mean. But once you explain the concepts, I think people would find them really intriguing and inspiring. It's just about making these ideas more accessible and relatable to everyone.
Yeah. So do you think there's room for content creator to focus solely on those ideas and be successful and get an audience and help create leaders and have followers, but create leaders especially?
Absolutely. I think there's definitely room for that. People are always looking for positive, forward thinking content, and focusing on abundance and creating leaders is a really inspiring angle. I think that kind of content would resonate with a lot of people and could definitely help build a community of like minded individuals who want to make a difference.
Um. Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
It's def Absolutely. It's always great to dive into new ideas and think about how they can inspire and empower others.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sort of running out of steam as far as stuff to talk about. Do you think there's more we could talk about in relation to this, or do you think I should just end the stream for now?
I think we've covered a lot of really great ground, so it might be a good place to pause and let everything sink in. And of course, whenever you're ready to pick it up again, I'm always here.
Sounds good. Bless up and limitless.